So Savannah Hernandez filmed a street video at UT Austin on International Women's Day, but nobody knew what a woman was. We're going to be watching this video today because there's definitely a handful of scenes that we need to unpack. But before we do, you guys, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already, please make sure to join my locals community. There's over 500 people over at the locals community. I think we're almost at 600 members, actually. And then there's almost 30 monthly supporters. It is free to join with the option of contributing monthly and becoming a monthly supporter for as little as $5 a month. But you guys, we have exclusive content dropping over there right now, including this 15-minute post-filming wrap-up of my last street video. You can chat with me over here, all that great stuff. So definitely make sure to hit that link down below. Also, next fun announcement, we do have my car channel, car channel, After Hours with James Klug, launching May 7th. There's going to be one episode a week. If you're into cars, it's definitely the channel for you. Link in the description below. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the first episode launches. So if that sounds fun to you, hit that link down below and go subscribe. So we have Savannah's video here, International Women's Day, but nobody knows what a woman is. This video is shocking. This video is absolutely shocking, and Savannah does a fantastic job at kind of really just getting information from people without getting too aggressive and more exposing herself, but really asking the good questions. Let's jump in.
We are here at UT Austin to ask the ladies what it means to be a woman in the modern day, and also if they would feel comfortable sharing their spaces with trans women. Let's go find out. What is it like being a woman in modern day America for you?
There definitely is some like setbacks and challenges, especially like I'm queer, and so I have some like just problems with that, like in like a religious standpoint.
There's still a lot of struggles that women have to like go through just for the, I guess, the way.
Be specific. Nobody wants to be specific anymore.
That they were born, I guess, especially if you take into account like trans femme people and like stuff like that. So
the casual zoom in where she just starts confusing herself. You can see she's like trying to think of examples right there, and she's just, I don't know. This is just what I'm told to say. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. Okay.
Actually, just made a short film about women's experiences, like just existing in the world. It's called "You Should Smile More," and we actually did a whole bit about like how it is to just like exist around like kind of just the kind of entitlement of men and how they make people feel uncomfortable and just like in everyday situations and how that affects women in like their day-to-day lives.
What are some of those things that men do that make women feel uncomfortable?
Well, for example, in the film, like the title of the film is "You Should Smile More." Just these like kind of offhanded, sort of like backhanded compliments almost, where it's like it's inherently threatening and telling them like, you know, like you're only valuable because you're pretty, and like they kind of the tone that they use in sort of situation.
How dare they? She's talking about like being a victim, and guys are saying you should smile more. I don't know. I mean, maybe you are insufferable. That could be the case. It could be. It could be. How crazy is it that it's like this easy to find people? I'm sure Savannah went out there for a couple hours, and these were just a handful of people that she talked to just around UT Austin. But I love that. You should smile more. That's threatening. Jeez. Is that the level of oppression that people are facing nowadays in the United States? That women are facing nowadays in the United States? Somebody says you should smile? Call the cops.
I don't know. I mean, I'm only realized some more gender stuff about myself recently, like in the past few months or so, because before then I identified as a man most of my life, so I'm still trying to figure things out.
You don't say.
So what are your pronouns? Talk to us a little bit about your gender identity.
Pronouns, I guess right now I'm kind of vague about, because I'm not out to like literally like everyone in existence, just kind of certain social spheres. But I guess like any at this point.
Any gender?
Yeah.
So like they, them, she, her,
yeah,
it,
fine,
he,
whatever.
him.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys, it's getting so out of control. They can be anything. You can identify as anything. You could call yourself anything. And you know what? That is technically true. It is true. Just don't demand that other people do the same thing, right? Don't demand that people call you whatever, call you it or they. Don't demand that. But you can, if you're an adult, sure, go for it. You do your thing. Don't demand society, bend what is reality for you, though. All right, next clip.
I could see why someone might have like issues like, oh, that's not a real woman, but I think that's kind of them not being able to accept the fact that that person has made that choice to become a woman.
Do you guys view trans women and biological women the same?
Yes and no.
It's crazy how much trouble people have answering these questions. And you know that they're being careful because of the culture that surrounds them. You know that they're being careful because the mob, if they say the wrong thing, they will not give their true and honest opinion on camera. They will dance around the topic for many men. I'm sure a lot of these other women actually believe what they're saying, but a lot of these other people, you can tell when they're struggling, they're just trying not to get in the crosshairs of that mob, of the violent left-wing mob on campus that will destroy their life if they do not bend a knee.
Yes and no, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's like yes, it's like a yes
that's
and
a trick
no
question, but
Yeah.
it's like that's a great question
It really
for
is a good
conversation.
Well, I mean, I think like the fact that like it's not just it's trans women and biological women kind of already inherently is saying they're different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like if you know it's like do you view a woman as the same? Even if that question, the answer would be no, because all women are different. You know, like Rihanna and Beyonce different. Same way, you know, like Caitlyn Jenner and like I'm and
Do you think
and Savannah.
Beyonce and Caitlyn Jenner are similar? Like,
I
would
think
you
they're
put them on? Yeah, like.
Yeah, they're both women.
And the
Oh my gosh. There's a big difference between the two, gentlemen. Didn't he just say that there was a difference between trans women and women? Because, I mean, you're already saying trans women. You know that there's a difference. You know that they're not women if you're saying that, right? How many people actually like make the argument? They're like fighting. They're saying trans women, quote unquote, and then trans women are women. It's like, okay, well, they're obviously not, because if they were, then you wouldn't say that. You wouldn't say trans women are women. You would just say women are women. That's all you would say. These people are already admitting that there's a difference. But then he just went back on that right there. Oh yeah, of course. Caitlyn Jenner's the same thing as Beyonce. You literally just said that wasn't the case.
Do you think that we should be focused in more on transgender women's voices now in the modern day society and, you know, trying to uplift them more than, let's say, other groups of women in the space? What are your thoughts?
Yes, in a way,
Good question.
because they do go through more.
And it's nice to get validated
Yeah.
in your identity and stuff.
Trans women are, oppressed and stuff. I think they deserve. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Voice.
How are they oppressed? Give specific examples. Be specific. They never are. They're given these lists of talking points and everyone just regurgitates the same thing. It's actually really interesting right here as well. This girl right here says it's nice to get validated in your identity. If the argument is that trans women are women, if that is your stance, okay, and you believe that, why do you need to be validated? Why do you need to be validated? For me, if I'm a guy or if you're a girl, has anybody ever tried to validate that you're a guy or a girl? And have you ever needed that? The answer is no, because you're biologically actually a guy or a girl.
Voice. They deserve to have the right to identify the way that they see themselves as.
I think trans women of color should be uplifted the most just because they have the most oppression facing them.
And talk to me too a little bit about that. What are some of those oppressive things that they're facing?
It could just be like small, everyday microaggressions, or even as far as someone going and assaulting them on the street.
These people think that like these people that they're talking about, let's say a trans minority woman, are just getting like literally the crap beaten out of them everywhere they go. That's where you hear that lie that there's like a genocide happening, when that's obviously not the case. That's not true. It's a lie. It's not true. It's interesting, actually, when we look at this stuff, you can see how everyone's kind of rehearsed and told to be giving these talking points. But the truth is, it's actually not even Gen Z's fault. It's not even Gen Z's fault. People created this. Leftist educators created this, right? I would largely blame it on millennials, Gen X. I would largely blame it on boomers for allowing these leftists to infiltrate every institution that makes an impact on these children. These people, they're just the byproduct of leftists taking over every institution that children are growing up in a world where they're being molded by these people. That's why all these kids are repeating the same talking point. These conservatives, and let's just say like center right people, or just people that aren't just absolutely out of their minds, they didn't bother to get involved in shaping future generations by becoming professors or school teachers or whatever it may be. People need to get involved in working in the institutions that make an impact on these people's lives and the future generation, Gen Alpha, after Gen Z as well. That's a wake-up call. Big time wake-up call.
I hate the way that the United States and law and policy are so focused on changing or just bothering the trans community. And I feel like that should be, it should obviously be a part of law in terms of giving them the freedom that they want. But
okay, again, how, right? How is the government involved in these people's lives at all? The only example that they could possibly look at for this, the only possible example, is when they completely overreach. They completely do something insane and people respond. Or they start going after children and people respond. That's the only thing. These people have been allowed to live their lives. The problem is they haven't been letting other people live their lives.
other than that, I feel like that should not be a subject to talk about unless you are a part of the community or it has something to do with you, because you don't truly know how it feels to be trans. Unless you're supporting, then I feel like it should not be talked about.
I love this response right here. Unless you're supporting the agenda, you shouldn't talk. How crazy is that? These are college-educated students. These are college-educated kids that have the opinion of, unless you agree with me, you really shouldn't speak. Holy hell. Oh my gosh. I think this was an overlooked scene in this video, and this was an amazing, amazing bit, because hearing that is horrifying. Also, by the way, I have this sped up a little bit just because it's a longer scene, so hopefully that it doesn't bother you guys.
So I think one of the reasons why it is because, like, for women's sports, for example, right, we do have some people like Leah Thomas, who is a biological male that went and swam with the women, obviously took first place. Leah Thomas, broader shoulders, was just bigger in general. So in terms of women's, sports, or even sometimes women's locker rooms, like, young girls are being exposed to trans women who still have male genitalia. So these are kind of little kids that are seeing that. And what are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. When it comes to the locker room,
Good question, Sav. Good question.
I feel like if these people are, if the trans community, if they feel like they are the opposite sex, like a female or a male, then they should be able to go into the locker room or whatnot, because they truly feel like they are female. So 9 times out of 10, I can't speak for everyone, but they're not trying to mess with the opposite sex if they feel like they are that sex. Like if they're a female going into a female locker room, then they're not going to want to mess with the females because they now are a female. But
even if they still have,
They now are a female. That's all you have to do. All you have to do is LARP as a woman, and you are now a female, and you are allowed to go into that place. You are allowed to go into that women's locker room. A lot of this movement is not supported or driven by young men or men just in general. Men look at this and say, that's probably a bad idea, right? Because that's just kind of common sense. A lot of women, they tend to be a little bit more, they see this as compassionate. And it's really not. I mean, you're really throwing away the security, safety, and just comfortability of women all being in a locker room together. You're throwing that away to make one dude uncomfortable, or dude more comfortable that thinks he's a woman. Does that seem like a fair trade? Does that seem reasonable? Of course not.
a penis, though? Like, do you think that, again, exposing a child to male genitalia just because that person feels female is a good thing for society?
Well, I feel like you're not going to expose your genitalia in a locker room. I know for me, you just get changed and stuff. So in terms of like exposing yourself in a locker room, I feel like that is not an issue. But if people are afraid that the trans person is going to mess with the female in the locker room, that's why I'm saying I feel like it's not an issue either, because if they identify as female, then they're not going to try to mess with these females.
Oh my gosh. I mean, how many examples of that? Oh, well, people don't get naked in locker rooms. What? Maybe not in yours, okay? Maybe not in yours, but believe me, people do. Believe me, people do. How many screenshots did Sav just put up right there? Seattle man tests transgender rule by undressing in women's locker room. You also had We Spa. That was a big scandal in Los Angeles. That was a major scandal. I believe two-time striker on undressing in front of little girls with male genitalia. And people will defend that. How crazy is that? It is 2023, and people will now defend grown men undressing in front of little girls. This is not a minority viewpoint on college campuses, or if it is, it's a slight minority because a lot of the students are being conditioned to accept this. This is their new world. All you have to do is put on a dress, and you're a woman. All you have to do is put on a dress, and you can now go into a women's locker room where there may be little girls or whatever it is. What about women's rights to feel secure and safe? What about them? These people are literally bending over to make a couple dudes comfortable instead of the overwhelming majority of women and the safety of the overwhelming majority of women.
Of it being a trans female, like, what are your thoughts on, I guess, children seeing that?
I mean, I don't know. I think
This girl's having a tough time.
that is interesting thing to think about. I just think like, I don't know. It is like kind of a weird situation. I do think for the safety of like a lot of trans people, there should be a lot more gender like neutral spaces.
Right. So more options would probably be the answer.
Yeah, I think
You could potentially get this girl out of the Matrix here. I think there might be hope for her. Now, the problem, here's the problem with, okay, well, there should be other options for these women. That won't please the mob. And that will already get this girl exiled. That will already get this girl shouted at. She will be in trouble for that opinion. Why? Because these people, they don't believe, they demand that trans women are women. So they will not settle for different divisions in sports. They will not settle for different restrooms and locker rooms for those people, which I don't even know why you'd make a separate locker room for them because it'd be like 2 people using it. But they will not settle for that. And that opinion of this girl right here, suggesting that, because at that point you are acknowledging that they are not biological women. And the mob will lose their frickin' mind after hearing that.
What would you say to the parents who think, like, oh, I don't want my daughter around a trans woman in a bathroom? Like, what are your thoughts on that type of mentality in the modern day?
I can't even believe, I still get shocked when we are asking this question. Like, how is this even a debate? You have to go to a 4-year college to get this indoctrinated to even make this a debate.
I feel like they're not as educated as well. When parents usually say that, it's really coming from like an ignorant place because they're not understanding that they
Classic timing on what I just said that. They're not educated enough. That's true. They're not. They haven't gotten enough indoctrination. Because if they did, then they would understand that, hey, it's your child being exposed to male genitalia, a grown man's genitalia in the locker room. Just deal with it. Just deal with the risks. Just deal with the emotional trauma of your child seeing that. Just deal with it, right? Because it makes that dude comfortable. Who cares if it makes that person comfortable? When it's making all these other people uncomfortable that have a right to be comfortable. Women have a right to be comfortable in locker rooms. They are the overwhelming majority. You don't just throw away their rights to please a few people over here.
They are women. I know they might have been born a male or whatever, but they are women. If they identify as a woman, they are a woman. And I get like they don't want like something bad to happen in the bathroom because their genitalia might not. Sex and gender are 2 different things, so their sex and gender might not match. But I think it's just ignorance. Yeah.
She's just malfunctioning there, not even responding to the conversation. Dude's exposing himself to children. Sex and gender are 2 different things. So I'm going to go back to this because I've been programmed to do this, because I've been told to do this, and this answer will satisfy the mob. Holy hell. Savannah's ability to just be totally undercover. If I was asking these same questions, everyone would be suspicious of me. People already are suspicious of me when I try asking questions out in the public. Savannah has this ability to just totally fly under the radar, and it's really awesome to see because she really gets people to expose these insane viewpoints, insane talking points. Most of these people aren't thinking for themselves. And you do have this girl right here that's like confusing herself every other second because she's confused about her talking points and how they make sense for the majority of women. You can kind of see it, right? You can kind of see what the gentleman that Savannah was talking to as well, just kind of they will, some of them will give in, but they'll also think about it and say, oh crap, this doesn't really make sense, but I know I need to make it make sense because I will be canceled. It's very sad. They can't step up without the institutional support. The people that don't believe this, the people that don't believe this to be the case, they can speak out all they want. But the institution is against them, and a massive percentage of students are against them, and they are aggressive. They will destroy these people's lives. That's why more conservatives or just more freedom-loving, more reasonable people need to enter these fields. They need, it's now or never. Because people like this will be the future leaders of the country. And that should scare the hell out of you.
Do you think that trans women face maybe more oppression or issues than regular women?
Yes, absolutely. And I think right now in the current climate, I would say yes, more oppression for sure.
I mean, you identify as a transgender woman for 365 days, and you get basically every single brand deal from every single major corporation. You get to meet the president. You get celebrated by the media. You get celebrated by Hollywood. But no, they're so oppressed. I would actually say the exact opposite, and I think we all would as well. The most celebrated people in the United States today, the most privileged. You guys, let me know what you thought about how Savannah did here. Some of these students are willing to put the safety of children on the back burner and prioritize comforting grown men in the locker room. I think that was a insane takeaway of this video. Let me know what you guys thought about Savannah's video down in the comment section below. I'll make sure to put a link down there so you can check out the whole thing. Go support her, go subscribe. Also, let me know what you thought about this reaction video. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe for more videos if you're not subscribed already, and hit that bell notification button so you're notified next time I post, and I will catch you guys all in the next video.